The castle of Cantref Bichan in Llandofri, in Cantref Bichan, has fallen back into the hands of the Marshal family. William Marshal has led a group of retainers, and while he was suffering from the flux, they jumped a marriage between Ellery, daughter of Lord Dithmal of Llandofri, and the powerful Prince of Deheubarth, Maredudd ap Griffith. And by taking hostages and hard bargaining, they they scared off the prince and got the lord to back down at the threat of his daughter's life. And now they are in command of the keep. But in a last twist, William Marshal, having recovered from the flux, has brought his own plans to bear and has released their most potent hostage, Lord Dithmal, to go and to go off into the forests to talk with his retinue, who have been plotting to overthrow the Marshal. And the last thing you saw was him walking into the forests alone, with the wonder and disapproval of lots of eyes bearing down on the Marshal. That's just happened, but time moves on. And Marshal, tell your men and everybody what your plans are for the near future. What are your plans, having released your prime hostage?
Right, gather round. Now, this may come as a surprise to you, especially me releasing the hostage, which is so bravely acquired in the first place. I intend there to be as much peace as possible between myself, our family, you, and the Welsh who inhabit this valley. And to such ends, I intend to renew my baptismal vows in the Well of St. David. That is my immediate goal. Thenceforth, we will send out people to gather information about the population, what they do, their fields, their crops, their cattle, everything. We need to know about everybody. Lord Dithmal will return. I have every faith. He's a noble man. We are different in birth, but we are the same in here. I think all will be well. If not, then he will go the same way as the pipe did. That was a reference to that first bloke, the cattle drover, who backstabbed us, or front stabbed us, and set his dogs on me. So we sprung up from a tree, I believe. Okay. What say you?
I would say, Lord Marshal, that it would also be wise to marry the lass as soon as it would be feasible and strengthen your hold on the land that way. Certainly that would be a peaceful way to encourage the Welshmen to accept you.
I shall speak with her this evening. Anyone else? Very well.
Maredudd of Llandofri, the priest who you picked up, steps forward and says, the eve of St. Dingat's is coming up, where the people of this parish carry the statue of St. Dingat's out to the well of St. David's. That will be in 6 days, and that would be a good public time to baptize yourself. If you wish to win over the Welsh, this would be a time where there is a big gathering. People from other villages, not just Llandofri, are at this procession. And if you were able to take your baptism vows in the Welsh language, I could teach you enough in 6 days to take the vows in Welsh, and this might impress your subjects.
An excellent idea. I shall endeavour to learn the vow in 6 days. Thank you, Griffith.
So, anything else? Okay, so the plans is over the next few days to, you say send men out. In the castle, you've got the house servants. There are about 5 of them. You have 5 families who work the Marshal lands, but they, with the harvest coming up any time now, they can't spare a single pair of hands. So basically, when you talk about sending men, the men you have, men and women you have before you, are the only ones.
Yep. I know that at least Jan Petter seems interested in getting other information, and Elizabeth is well competent. And with the assistance of the others, I'm sure they can gather this information.
So, if that's your command, do you want all your retinue to go out? Are you going out with them? Do you want Maradut to travel with you, teaching you the Welsh ceremony as you go, or are you staying in the castle? Are you abandoning the castle and leaving it undefended, or are you sending some out? What are you going to do?
Okay. I shall ask for volunteers who would like to go forth and gather some information, speak to the locals.
Okay. And will you be planning to stay in the castle then?
I think I'm probably best in the castle.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to, because you're the Lord, you kind of dominate a lot of the action. So I'll go back to you in a bit later, Lord Marshal. I'll go through the others. I'll start with, for example, Jan Peter. You were the one who first listed the supplies and took an interest and worked out the supplies and demands of what the barony could offer. And so I'm going to assume you've got a head for this kind of, for being a reeve, for counting supplies and this kind of thing. So you're the first to be aware, you're the first to notice and be aware that the many guests in the castle at the moment, the family of Maradut the priest, the Buchan family, who took the outer bailey for you. When you seized the family, they attacked the outer bailey. They are still there in the castle, eating away at the castle supplies. Also there are the Talifer of Trebizond, the Breton brothers. They haven't left, and at the moment the supplies would only last about 6 months with just the core 6 of you living on basic ration. Well, 7 of you, including de Colin, living on basic rations. But with all these people, it'll significantly shorten the supply. You can deal with this. You can either see to your lord and see what his response would be, or take responsibility for this yourself, or how would you like to deal with this problem?
Well, first of all, my question is, what was the name of the priest again? I thought it was Griffith, not
Griffith,
Meredith.
sorry, Griffith. Yep.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to get rid of the Bichen family, like offer them something, and well, like give them a reward for helping us and make them leave. Because I assume there's like 20 men or 30 men or something.
There are 12 men.
Oh, okay, so some of them left. Okay.
Pardon?
Well, because I think, yeah, when we took the castle, it was like 30 men, right? So
Yeah.
only a
30
part
men
of them.
defending it. I can't remember how many took. I didn't note down exactly, but yep.
Okay.
12 men are still around, feasting and living it up on the castle supplies.
Yeah, I would probably bring this to the attention of my lords then, because I don't think I have enough of, I have authority big enough to like make them leave. Since also they're the only ones who kind of are like guarding the castle at this point.
No, you are. You're doing a.
Well, I mean, yeah,
you're
but
knights.
yeah, but they are like, I don't know, levies or whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have weapons, hopefully. So
They
yeah,
have weapons.
I would bring this.
So do all wells.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, never can trust them. So I would bring this to the attention of Lord Marshal. Discuss further.
Yeah. These are Griffiths men, aren't they? Or family?
Yep.
Is that right? Okay, I shall summon him to a quick meeting at which I will suggest that we retain 6 of his men and let the others go home. And I shall also tell him that I haven't forgotten about his cousin, the Reeve, and his potential employment. But I need to rethink about that, and I have a plan which I'll discuss later with him. So if you can maintain 6 men who he trusts more than the others, or who are more capable than the others, and release the rest. So I've got half.
Yes, my lord. Also, it might be beneficial to, I don't know, kind of officially reinstate Griffith as the abbot, like as the, to the church that he used to own. I don't know what the village name was, but
It's this one, Llandofri.
oh, it was in Llandovery. Okay. I thought it was one of the villages, the barony.
No, he's the priest of. He was the priest of this place. So.
So do we take that as read that he's retained it, or do I need to speak some words?
No, he with the return to power of the Bichen family, he is the other. The last priest has run out of the town. With a beating, he's been beaten by the Bichen family, and he's gone off to claim justice from the bishop.
Okay.
So you're dismissing half of the Bichen family, but they still say that 3 days feasting is the minimum that a lord of your reputation requires for his honor, and if he wants to win a reputation for hospitality and honor in these parts, 3 days of feasting would be the minimum to reward these people. Says Griffith.
Does anyone know whether that is reasonable?
Wait,
Other than
how long have we been in this castle? Like, because
I don't know, a day perhaps. I think things have gone quickly.
because it seemed in the last session that we were there for like a week already.
Were you?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I thought.
I would think several days.
Yeah, I think you said something like that at some point.
Okay, sorry, I've missed that then. Okay, so you dismiss the rest and they leave. What about the entertainers?
I mean, they were
and the
promised.
occasionally keening siren.
Yeah, they were promised a week of feasting, if I recall correctly, and then we would hunt a dragon with them. So I think we have still a few days till a week passes.
Yep. So they're still living it up.
I mean, we could like put them to work. I don't know, like spread the word or something. Go around and just like sing or something.
That's a good idea.
Or maybe actually like track the dragon so that we can immediately get on with the hunting when we have the chance.
Okay. So you, while you're dealing with that, Benoit, Robert Benoit, is that your character checks?
Yep.
You have another eye. You've sort of come across poaching and things like that, and you're aware of thieving, and the house servants. They are not house servants. The custom is that if you roast some meat, if you open a barrel, if you open a bottle of wine, they're allowed to finish what is left. But they're really taking the mick. Each meal, there's far more opened and far more produced, far more served than should really then is needed for the number of guests around, and they are siphoning it off and probably making a fair profit on it. You're aware of that. Again, you have the choice of taking it to your lord or dealing with it yourself, or with somebody else if you like.
Yeah, I think Benoit would deal with that himself.
Just to remember that you're just recovering. So maybe you're recovering, and also you don't speak Welsh, but there is a new guy who's joined you, a half Norman, half Welsh youth called Durwell.
No, Durwell. Oh, I saw him in the Facebook actually. Okay. Can't find a pen. Durwell. And I'm guessing that the servants all speak Welsh. The head servant or anything doesn't have even pidgin English. Or Norman,
they kind of know how to say hello and yes and no, but nothing else. And mercy.
Okay, well, in between bouts of coughing and trying not to shit myself, I will tell Durwell to make it known to the servants that if this continues, the practice of helping himself once the wine is open or once there's any leftovers, will stop entirely and will be taken away from them. It's a privilege, and they are overstepping their bounds. It is not going unnoticed.
I'll gently translate that for the servant folk, once commanded so by Benoit. He's pretty timid, is Durwell, though he's bolstered by having fought and killed a man in a recent week. And despite his usually like gangly, fumbling self, is beginning to grow into manhood with his newfound courage that's come with murder. He'll like tell these servants not to bite the hand that feeds them, and like almost like plead with them through my teeth in Welsh, like please, like don't rouse the angry Norman bears. It'll go harder for us. You know, when like someone's like pleading with someone not to be naughty, it's kind of almost that like mewling, piteous plea for compliance.
Okay, make an intimidation roll straight, because you've got
No worries. You got a -1 to that, so 14.
Okay, no, your words. You have Benoit glowering behind you, and you have killed a man. They've seen you do it. Your words have some effect. 13, did you say total, or 14?
15 on the dice, so 14 total.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay.
And he'll add a please at the end.
Going to going on to Elizabeth. You spend a bit of, you've got a little bit closer to Ellery, or you're getting closer to Ellery, and her nurse, Rhiannon, arrives from the village of Midfai, and you become aware that Ellery seems interested in you as a knight, that you are a warrior, and she is aware of that there are places in the world where things are different, and she's inspired to see you. And though she doesn't want to become a fighter herself, you feel that there's quite a strength in her, and she's got an ambition about her. But you also notice that sometimes when she's speaking with, make an insight roll, actually.
Alrighty. That would be 11.
11. You don't really. Rhiannon and Ellery speak to each other in Welsh, and there's something about Rhiannon, the nurse's glances at you, that looks slightly gloating when you're present. She knows you can't understand, and she looks like, you get the impression from the nurse that she feels she's outwitting you.
All right. I think what Elizabeth would do would be to take Ellery aside and borrow our poor translator again, Durwell. I think probably I'm learning a few words here and there, but of course, obviously, I'm not going to learn a whole language in 3 days or whatever. And talk to her and ask her, you know, what does your nurse say to you? Maybe play off that sort of maybe awe she has about seeing Elizabeth as a warrior, and you know, the wrestling the bear and all that. I'm sure that there's a certain like hero worship thing going on there. And Elizabeth was raised in a noble home, and she can she knows things about running a noble home too. So she kind of plays off Ellery being so young and her experience and her being a warrior to try to persuade her to tell her what her nurse has been saying to her.
And she's known Durwell for quite a. Would you like to add anything to that, Durwell?
Nope. I'll translate verbatim.
Mm-hmm. She's known Durwell for quite some time, and he's one of the few she trusts, and because she's impressed with you, you can roll your. Usually, persuasion would be at disadvantage through some if you're translating to another language, but I'll give you just a straight roll.
Persuasion.
I'll have Elizabeth make this one.
Okay.
So she calls you Adeliza.
Well, it comes to 13.
13.
Could be worse.
My nurse, she tells you, you need not be worried. My nurse has some opinions of what is best for me and reminds me of my duty to my father. I do not forget my duty to my father, but I also, as the lady of this, as the lady and heiress to Bichan, have a duty to my people here, and I am considering what is best for them.
So Elizabeth would say to her, basically, let me remind you that we have made a deal and that this, and that you're not really free to choose, but I will tell you that William Marshal is a very fine man and will be an excellent ruler of this area.
A look of anger
well,
comes on
and I respect him highly.
A look of anger comes on her face at the second. That was what my father said. I had no right to refuse, to choose. I may not choose, but I do have the right to refuse.
And I looked at her again and said, remember also that we saved you, what we saved you from, because this was not a pleasant man. Still is. Young, handsome, kind. Doesn't always have a choice, a princess, or do where she goes because of the politics. But I hope that we at least gave you a better choice than you had originally.
It is true that a daughter does not cannot choose who she marries, but by the church's teaching, I've spent some time in a nunnery. I know that a marriage requires the consent of both parties, and if I do not give my consent, it is not a legal marriage.
Yes, I understand. Unfortunately, if you do not give your consent, you would have to consider what other options there are. I do not
want to. I do not want to start on the wrong foot. My father never asked me for my consent, and this angered me. Marrying this, he wanted me to marry this old fat man. I agree that that the young Marshal is much more the man they tell about in the romances of France.
Elizabeth smiles at that.
But
I've seen few better.
Well, we will see, she says. I am. Does he listen to counsel? She says.
Yes, he does. He actually invites counsel. He rarely makes a decision without consulting with us first, including me. So as a bride, I'm sure he would listen to your counsel as well.
That's interesting, she says. And that sort of plants seeds in her head.
She also mentions that, one more thing too, she mentions that Lord Marshal had allowed her father to go free, trusting his word as a noble.
I have not decided yet whether that was stupid or whatever. That was extremely generous, but I don't know whether that was from overconfidence or from acceptable confidence. My father, I will say no more. It is not a daughter's. It is not a daughter's place to take the side of the enemies of her father. We will see what happens.
I believe Lord Marshal did not desire your father to be an enemy.
Maybe not, but we will see.
Yes, of course. And when Elizabeth is done talking to her, she actually goes to Marshal and tells him what she's learned and what she surmises, that the nurse is kind of planting some ideas, perhaps. That Ellery is concerned that Ellery is in a position where she believes she can say no, and that perhaps it would be wise to woo his bride.
Mm-hmm.
Just
yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Certainly, always glad to help. In her heart, Elizabeth has a little bit of romantic, and she kind of sees this as what could be end up being really her romantic idea. Those two together.
Matchmaker.
Yes. Yes, she's all ready to make matches.
But your first task, having dealt with having dismissed half the, well, how do you dismiss exactly, what do you give and how do you dismiss the rest of the Bichen family?
What do I give them?
Or not necessarily. How do you dismiss them? What do you say to them? Do you do it yourself, or do you?
I wouldn't. No, I don't think I would do it. I would do it via Griffith himself.
Okay.
I think it might be better coming from him via me, and it would give him more authority, I think, rather than me overstepping his management layer, shall we say?
Okay. Yes. So you dismiss you send Griffith, and he dismisses half of his family. Okay. So for the next part, now your next task is to visit the villages of the to ensure your supplies, basically, to visit the villages of Bichen and to establish that the harvest that is coming, that they will pay the dues that that they owe you, and work out what the dues are exactly and the details. I'm not going to go around each village and work out and do a role play full encounter for each village and things like that. I'd like to manage this through sort of skill checks and approaches. Working as a team, what sort of skill, what ability you'll use, and how you'll use it to convince the villagers to hand over the maximum amount of food from the harvests possible. So starting with, for example, well, because you've done it before, checks. What does What's Robert Benoit's approach? Or would you like me to go to somebody else?
Benoit's approach is simple. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, brain fart.
Braveheart.
No, brain fart. I've completely forgotten the word I was looking for. But essentially saying it's for the good of everyone, for this to happen. Persuading them, essentially.
You don't speak Welsh.
So
you can do it through do well, but you'll lose a bit through translation.
Yeah, no choice though.
Okay. Roll persuasion at disadvantage. And tell me your result.
Disadvantage gives me an 8.
8. Okay. Yep. So you go round. Convincing them, being honest, and trying to convince the Reeves, but you see doubtful looks on their faces, and they agree. They agree to it, but you don't see much enthusiasm amongst them. Durwell, what will your approach be?
I'm going to use my since I've grown up in the area, I'm going to use my history of the area, and to say things to the marshal like, "Oh no, I know that family. A score of years back, they had this, and so they lost a bunch of bulls." Or this field here, his field's full of stones, so we can only get this much of him. Things like that someone growing up in the area would know, like local insight, I guess, but by form of a history roll, which is unsurprisingly also a -1. So that'll give me a 0. Because I got a natural 1.
Okay.
I imagine I'm faltering and like sweating, and every time I go around.
You do have local knowledge. You can have advantage on your history roll, but I mean, it's not going to.
Let's see. Let's see if this can get any more. I guess it's going to be a 7, all up. I imagine he's nervous and he feels he feels like a dog, because all the villagers kind of look at him quaking or fearful, but then when everyone else is away and it's just him, they whisper things like traitor or call him a cur because he works for the Normans, and so he's. Maybe they're not so forthcoming with local knowledge to him over the last 12 months or however long it's been that he's been a turncoat or servant to the Normans. And so the whole thing makes him uncomfortable. He tries to just put on that soldier's face to push through, but anyone who knows him well would say that he's unsettled by the work, forcing these poor kinsmen to give up to their overlords.
Mm. And even the sort of richer families, you've got a feeling that they're hiding things from you. You kind of thought that they were richer, but you're unable to. You thought that they had bigger herds, but when they show you their barns, they just have small herds, sort of in there of thin cattle. You don't know where the fat cattle that you imagined have disappeared. So
more weevils than wheat, my lord.
Mm-hmm. So continue. Basically, how this works is you can't use the same skill twice in this. So far we've had persuasion and history used. Elizabeth, what approach will you use?
Yes. Well, Elizabeth is going to come in and she's going to be very firm. She's going to tell them that the Lord needs this for his castle, and that for a strong country they need a strong Lord, so that he may protect them. And she's going to use intimidation.
Okay, and you can have, although the Marshal is new, the Marshal's grandfather had such a reputation in this area that you can have advantage. They're still terrified of the reputation of his grandfather, so you can have advantage on your intimidation check.
Oh, I got a nat 20.
Okay, And what's your have you got any bonus,
yes, I
or is
do,
it just a
plus
nat?
2, so that'll be 22.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So yes, where persuasion didn't work, just your authority and the reputation of the Marshal terrifies them, and they open up doors that they're reluctant to open up and show you into stores where they've got things hidden, and people betray secrets because they're so nervous when they're in their presence that that yes, your presence reveals a lot more riches and gets a lot more promises of supplies, basically. And finally, Peter, young Peter, what approach will you make?
Oh, could I guess persuasion was already used, but could I like try to like flatter them and offer them, like we're doing this in good faith, it will be beneficial, and your estate looks so good, like I'm sure you can miss a few supplies for the Lord and whatnot. Kind of flatter and give them
No.
compliments all the way.
If you roll higher than let's see who is studying it, then Benoit, then we'll take your results in front.
Oh.
But this, but no, use a different skill. I think persuasion's already been done. It's been left to Benoit.
What is there to use then?
You could use, for example, nature, to know agriculture, to know how they manage things, or just straight out perception or something like that, just to spot things that they're hiding. Investigation to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna use perception then. Oh wait, no, I have a better idea. I kinda maybe. I use performance and get the Greek and his band of minstrels to tag along, and give them a song, a little.
How would this? Can you explain how this would help bring in the?
Well, if it would be maybe at the start of the negotiating or whatnot, maybe it could get them into the mood, like make them a bit lousier and like not think about their problems too much, like kind of that bread and games thing. Like they would be distracted enough by this awesome play that we're gonna perform that they will be like enthusiastic and like, yeah, I'm gonna give the food to the Marshal because like.
Okay, a change of regime, a change of power. The sort of hope of a new future, sort of played by music, and yes, do a performance, and you can have advantage from the support of the traveling players.
Awesome. 15.
Good. Okay, and finally, Marshal. Although you weren't sort of directly involved, what approach will you take?
Okay, there was 2 I was looking at then. I was going for either insight, to try and get a better feeling of what's going on around, or intimidation. Yeah, that would do. Insight.
Insight.
I will be sitting there listening, prompting. Yeah, just try to pick up on the feelings.
Yep, and that's not restricted by language. You can read people pretty much. The culture's close enough for you to read them, so just roll a straight insight as they are talking.
Oh god. Yeah, that was a natural one.
Okay, yep. These Welsh are alien to you, and you're not able to
I'm
read.
just sitting there nodding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Do we have any points or anything that we can use to reroll? Don't think we do. Do we?
Oof. Okay, and when, so basically you travel around the villages, and you get promises of or they all feed you and offer you but poor stews and show you how poor they are, how they've been racked by the ravages of the wars from one prince and another, how the Normans first invaded and then the wild Norse of the Isle of Man have come up all the way up the river, sacking their church once and raising their crops, and they're worn down by years of war and they have very little left. And basically what they promise from the first year, well, what they promise, you go around and they show you how they've been hard hit, how some of their lands are fallow, how they're not as rich as they were in the time of your grandfather. And at the end of the sort of visit round the villages of Cantref Bichan, you have a sort of commitment of basically just under 80% of what your the year that your grandfather took in, and that's not enough to support you all for the year. Well, on half supplies you might be able to get through, but on full rations you wouldn't.
Well, they have been hit hard then. Might have to look elsewhere to supplement that.
Mm-hmm. But then the week goes past and it's St. Dinat's Day, when they carry St. Dinat, when they carry the statue of St. Dinat up to the well of St. David's, and you'll go there for your baptism.
Before that time, could I have let Ellery in on my plans? Just had a
Yep.
quick word,
Mm-hmm.
private with her.
She is sitting in one of the windows of Llandofri Castle with her nurse, and she stands as you approach. My lord, she says with a little bow.
I shall return the bow if that's what we do. My lady, may I speak with you alone? Just look at her maid and smile.
And she dismisses her nurse, and her nurse goes off.
I understand you had some harsh words for Elizabeth.
I admire Elizabeth. She is an inspiration.
She is. She's indeed.
And she speaks well of you.
Yes, I'm fond of her too. And I wish to grow more fond of you too. What are your true feelings on this matter? I know you've spoken briefly with your father before he left.
I am since my mother died, I have been the lady of this estate, and my father loves hunting and raiding and fighting, and leaves the day-to-day administration and management of the estate to me. But he interferes a lot. It would be. I love this. I love this valley, and I would like to. I would like to continue to rule it, she says, with a good lord.
Well, I have been looking for a home for a long number of years, even before I lost my mother too. But I think I may well have found it in this place. The trees, the mountains, just looking out of the window over the valley. It's beautiful. So Wales is a gorgeous place to live, and I wish to call it my home too.
A lord's place is surely on the battlefield, she says.
I have been on the battlefield. I've done my time in battlefields.
Are you tired then of war? You've come to the wrong place.
I'm not tired of war. I have made a vow to myself that I shall only draw my sword in defence until such times as it's necessary to draw it in anger.
In Wales, you will find a strong. The best defence is often an attack.
I shall heed your words.
I do not know war. I am not here to lecture you in war. But if I am not, my father planned to marry me off to a fat old man who was disagreeable to me. You are not so disagreeable to me, but I stand by my first vow. When my father takes his vows, I'll take mine. My wedding vows to you.
I hope that day will be soon, my lady.
How long will you wait for my father to return?
Well, I will be renewing my baptismal vows on the forthcoming feast. At that point, I am hoping that he will show some. I was going to say sense or loyalty, but those would be the wrong words. Show some favour for his daughter too, and perhaps attend my baptism. If not, then we shall have to go looking for him.
Would you like me to attend your baptism?
I would be honoured.
I will happily come.
Thank you. And if there's anything else you require, please do not hesitate to ask us, and I shall also bear in mind your words concerning your stewardship of this place too.
I am concerned about the stores. They are running low. These entertainers you came with are eating us out of house and home. We will not last the winter if we continue to support them all. And to be honest, the garrison of Llandovery has always been approximately six men. with 12. I don't know whether in a good year maybe the barony will support that, but this year you need to reduce. Well, who knows what God will send us, she says. But
those matters.
forgive me for
we'll get down to.
Forgive me. My father encouraged me to speak my mind.
That's a good trait. I will bid you a farewell for this evening, my lady. I should bow my way out.
Okay.
Passing the maid on the way.
Yep, the nurse sort of jumps back as you come through the door because she'd been listening. She'd given up listening because she doesn't really understand the French language that you speak, and she gives you a sour look as she goes in to see her lady again. So now the day of the feast of St. Dingats comes. And you have been trained all this time by Gruffydd of Llandingats, St. Dingats, and he suggests it would impress the locals, and it would be righteous in the eyes of God if you went up to the well and spent the night in vigil beside the well, beside the holy well.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to do that, as long as some of my closest friends and protectors are around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who are you taking? All of them, or are you leaving anyone in the castle?
Yeah, best leave someone behind. Okay, I think I'll possibly take. I'll probably take Elizabeth and Jan. Jan Petter, probably. Maybe even Dowell as well, just in case we have to speak to people. Yeah. Damn, I haven't got enough. I've only got 4 of them now. 4 people who are.
De Cullen's suffering from the flux.
Yeah, so I really ought to leave 2 fighters behind. I think I trust Griffith enough for him to be one of them.
Griffith needs to come and do the baptism. He's your priest.
Sure. Yeah, but even doing the vigil too.
He can come. He's the village priest. He needs to lead the procession up from the village. He'll do his village in the village church, in St. Dingat's church.
Yeah. Okay.
Split the group.
I'll take Petter, seeing as he's yeah, I need him with me for various reasons. Need to keep him on a short lead. No offense.
Peter, Marshal, and anyone else going up to the well?
Well, I think Elizabeth suggested she should stay. I think that's probably a good idea with Ellery still around.
Ellery will come up during the day with the procession. So, would you like Elizabeth to come with Ellery?
Yes, please.
And the other 2, are they staying at the castle?
Yes.
So Benoit and Duel at the castle.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see if Jan Petter can catch that trout that he failed to catch the other last week.
Yeah, that
Okay.
trout.
So, the evening, the day before, the day before the feast of St. Dingat, Marshal and Peter saddle up their horses and ride out through the villages, up onto the Brecon beacons, the high hills on top of the valleys, retracing their steps on the way here. And it's quite a way. You travel all through the day, and after sundown, you hear. Well, actually, because you've been there before, you can make it at an advantage. Make a survival roll to find it. Who wants to make it? Who are you relying on? Or actually, no, you can take a guide. One of the castle. It's coming up to harvest time, which is a hard time, but you can press one of the men if you want.
Yeah, an extra body. That's good.
So taking somebody away from one of the lazy people away from the harvest, the hard work of the harvest, you have him guide you up to the well, and there you come across the pool, the roaring, There's a sinkhole in the rock with the water rushing through it, all white and foaming that you can't see in, but just a roar of water, a sort of medieval jacuzzi as the stream runs down, feeds this sinkhole, and it disappears into the ground. And there you've had some sort of religious experience before, so you settle down in Holy Vigil and spend the night there. Make the two of you. Is there anything you'd like to add, Peter?
I'd like to catch that
Marshal?
trout. My old nemesis.
Are you going to sit in the? Are you going to sit in the well?
Yeah.
Overnight.
For a few hours maybe, and if I have no luck, then I would.
Yeah.
Outside.
Last time you went during the day, but now it's night. You arrive at night. You want to go in at night?
It's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, so I'll wait till like the morning, sunrise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
pray.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pray.
Can you both make? Okay, overnight you're praying, you're doing your holy vigil and spending the night, but it's out in the wilds, it's out in the cold in Wales. Can you make a Constitution check, please? A Constitution save, DC 13.
18.
DC 12, sorry. 18? And for you? 10. Okay. By the time morning comes, you've got this local. You've got the snivels and everything. You're basically suffering under. Yes, you've got the cold. You've got a cold, and you've got disadvantage on all ability checks.
Okay.
But you're feeling holy.
On top of my ribs. Yeah.
On top of your ribs.
My old wounds still harries me.
Okay, you've got another level of. Oh no, the ribs isn't exhaustion. It's
pain.
It's just pain. And you, actually, by this time, well, we'll see. But morning comes. Oops, excuse me. Morning comes, and the religion. You hear the chanting. You hear chanting, religious singing. It's familiar. Some of the familiar Norman some of the familiar services that you know, but they're sung in a Welsh. They're sung in 2 or 3 parts, which is very unusual, and you find it all a bit alien. As you, Elizabeth, you join the procession with Ellery and the rest of the villages as they've dressed up the statue of St. Dingat in new, quite rich robes of Flanders cloth. Most people here have just local homespuns, but they've splashed out on their saint, and they're carrying their saint well dressed and recently painted up to, in a procession up to the well. Some travel in little some travel on the back of horses, others walk. There's plenty of food and drink, and it's passed around. Would you like to join the food and drink?
Elizabeth is going to do whatever Ellery is doing and stay close with her.
Okay. Ellery and her nurse are they're chatting away with the locals in Welsh and partaking of food and a little drink. They're not doing either to excess, but they obviously are quite popular amongst the village, and they're chatting away, but you don't really understand what they're saying. But you see occasional sort of glances towards you. Again, that smug expression on the face of the nurse, and occasionally a villager as they make their way up along the route towards the well. Back in the castle, you've been you're in the keep. The 2 of you are in the keep part of the castle. Any plans? Durwell and Robert Benoit?
Whatever the Marshal instructed me to do when he left, I'd be trying to do that and trying to cover how uneasy he feels without the upper echelon of authority about the castle. Being surrounded by so many perturbed people, I guess, would probably make him feel pretty uncomfortable. And the thoughts of having not enough food to go through the winter would be slowly trickling its way down to him, and he'd be processing that and be worried about the either outcome of either having to go on half rations and be hungry by winter's end, or the other maybe more horrible option of going to raid fellow Welshmen for their food and make them starve over the winter so that we don't. So be pretty sullen, I'd say, and jittery. But nothing, no personal tasks to commit. He'd be too wary of not fulfilling his duties to the Marshal. So if there's a list of jobs to do while he's away, not that he can read, but you know what I mean, he would take to that.
And Benoit? Oh, well, first of all, Marshal, have you asked them to do anything specific?
I don't think I would have asked them anything specific, just to be extra vigilant and repel invaders, basically, and just carry on as you were.
Okay. And Benoit, is there anything you'd like to do?
I'll be carrying on as we were, but I will be making kind of semi-regular rounds into the the kitchen areas and whatnot, making myself a visible presence and just passing through.
Make an insight roll, Benoit.
Insight. 15.
Okay. You notice somebody in the kitchen who you haven't seen in the kitchen before.
Male or female?
Female.
Female. And I'm guessing haven't seen around the castle at all before, or
No, no. Totally new face.
okay.
Do you want to disguise the fact that you've noticed her, or make it obvious?
No, I'll disguise the fact I've noticed.
Okay.
But
And how will you react?
Well, I'll react just by nonchalantly looking over, seeing what everyone's doing. Can't speak a word of the language, so I'm just nodding at everyone. No, needing bread. Very good.
Yep. They hand you some of yesterday's bread.
And I'll munch it as I make my way around, and I'll stand next to this unknown person for an uncomfortable long period of time just to see how they react.
Okay. As the cook sees you, not the cook, the cook's assistant sees you standing next to this new woman, and the new woman throws a glance at them. The cook's assistant runs up with some rabbits, pointing at the rabbits and this woman, and showing you what great sort of a great brace of conies she's brought in.
Yeah, and again, don't understand a word of the language, so it's just kind of like, yeah, okay. Yeah, those are definitely rabbits.
Yep. Okay. So you're standing uncomfortably close to her. Make an intimidation roll.
That I can do. That is to an A1.
Okay. Yep. You. She. And actually, because you're Marshal's men, you've got advantage on that, but you don't need advantage on that. She breaks down and starts yabbering at the Welsh. They break down. The people in the kitchen throw themselves at the floor, and they start begging you for mercy. You don't really understand what's happening, but they're obviously terrified of you.
How does the unknown react?
You were very close. She's also thrown herself on the floor, and she's just sort of prostrate before you. They're sort of clutching at your ankles and pleading. You get the impression they're pleading for you not to kill them.
Yeah, okay. She will be the one I grab by the arm and lift up, and I'll drag her out of the kitchen because I need a translator. So I'll be taking her up to wherever their wall is currently situated.
Okay. Yep. You find Durwell.
He'll stand off and like pat off his gambeson and try and look him like soldierly in front of the older mentor. Even though he towers above him, probably like a rake up against the wall.
There's a young, slightly gap-toothed villager. You've seen her about in the valley. She doesn't usually come to the. She's not usually involved in the. You don't really know her. She's not from Llandofri, and you've never seen her in the castle before. But you've seen her at occasional sort of. She lives somewhere in the valley.
I'll look between her and the knight and just ask, is there some way I can help you, Sir Robert?
I don't believe this one is supposed to be here, and I want to know why she's here.
He'll just turn to her and ask her in Welsh, what's she doing here? What do you here?
And she's been broken. She's terrified, and she confesses that she was sent in. She was sent in by. Sorry, just 1 second. By
Is she taking
Caradog,
time to come up with a name? Just kidding.
by Caradog of
Oh,
by
I know
Caradog.
that name.
Yeah,
He's an enemy.
Caradog them. Yeah, she was sent in by Caradog to put some slow in your put some berries of slow berries in your food and open the gates
And when were you to
when
open
you
the
were
gates?
incapacitated.
Oh, I see. And what signal were you to give to our enemies that this was done?
When actually, yeah, she would hang out of the window. She shows you her green cloak.
He like twitches, like his face twitches, and he like flicks the his forefinger and thumbnail together. Breathes slowly, turns
They
to
have my brother.
Sir
They
Robert.
have my brother. I didn't want to do it. She's saying, but they threatened my brother. You're not sure that she's telling the truth on that one.
I'm going to roll insight, although I believe her, because I feel like she'd be too scared to lie, given her situation right now. My insight is a 17.
Okay. Her brother. Her brother. You vaguely remember seeing her brother, and you think it's more likely that her brother has joined them, joined your enemies, has joined Caradog. You vaguely remember a Norman has killed somebody in that family, and they just hate Normans.
He'll like give that, and he'll turn to Benoit and say, "My lord," and then he'll relay what she just told me. And then ask, not wanting to hear the answer, "What do you wish me to do, Sir Benoit?"
Silly girl. For the time being, we keep her alive. She's information. Where is Caradog's men currently? Does she know?
I doubt he would tell her for fear of capture, but I can ask, and then he'll turn to meet her gaze and then question her in Welsh, and he'll put something into his tone which tells her this is important and her life hangs by a thread. Whereas Caradoc's men, where were they to come from when you threw out the green rug to signal that you'd poisoned us?
She says they're down by the river. They'd be waiting down by the river Tui. She tells you some fens that you know, that some long some reeds, the reed bed by the abandoned miller's cottage.
We could hang the green rug out, my lord, he says to Benoit, and draw those forces in, and they think we're asleep, but really we could be waiting for them and make our lord the happier upon his return, with some fresh heads to mount upon the courtyard.
Oh, I very much agree.
He gives like a snaggletooth grin, like in the movies when the fool suggests they do something which everyone knows is going to confound the hero. But he thinks is like he's made like a tactically savvy suggestion.
Yes, I think that is astute. It gives us the home advantage as well as the surprise. Yes, I think that's what we'll do. 'Cause, 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 'c
So what exactly, including timing, what is your plan?
Round up what warriors we can and equip them with the excess that we must surely have. Hide them inside the walls. Let none of the servants out who might still be spies that we've not yet detected. Throw out the green blanket and lure the enemy in. Shut the gates on them when half of them are in, and slaughter those within, keeping a few prisoners so that we can torture them for information to find out where the rest of them are, so that we can kill them when the Marshal returns. Except Durwell would say that way less concise and eloquently, stuttering, not sure of himself when to give advice. But for the sake of expediency, that would be the plan that I would put forward for the night's decision.
I can just imagine Benoit doing the whole sheriff of Nottingham, hand gestures as you're telling me this.
We could lure them in, my lord.
Yes.
So that's your plan. So are you throwing out the green blanket immediately? The green cloak?
Whenever, like, for instance, if the girl was told to give us the slow at 5 and it usually takes 2 hours to have effect, so to like 7:30 kind of rationale. Like, I'm not sure exactly, but I would question her as to what meal she was going to poison us, and then wait the appropriate time after that to hang the blanket out, so there's nothing to give Caradog a whiff of treachery.
Nice.
Well, double treachery,
okay.
actually.
Nice. So, yeah, you just to communicate your plan. You communicate your plan to the six Bichen family members who are still around, and well, actually, would any of them have gone up with you to the well, Lord Marshal? Ah, he's dropped. So
my lord is deep in prayer.
Yeah.
He's taking a vow of silence until he's finished his hymns.
So
I think we had a guide. I don't think we.
Yeah, you took a guide, but that's it, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
I'm pretty sure I have like 60 solid warriors here, right?
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm back.
So you're leaving. You're leaving the 6 warriors back at the keep. Well, I say warriors. The 6. Well, yeah, they're warriors. They're Welsh warriors.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. Can you hear me all right?
Okay. And so 2 hours. The sound of the procession goes into the distance. It's too late to call them back, but you ready your plans. You tell the Bichen family of your plans, and you prepare to close the gates the moment that that half the attacking party have come in. Who's going to hang the? It's some way from the keep to the outer bailey. Is somebody going to hang the? Is one of you going to hang the green cloak from the keep, or and run out to the outer bailey, or are you going to ask one of the servants to do it?
Between us, we'll find our most trusted female servant, dress her in the clothes of the treacherous Welsh woman, and get her to hang the green rug upon pain of death.
Okay, make an insight at advantage, DC 10.
Certainly, my lord. Yeah, no worries. That'll be an 18.
Yeah, knowing the people here, you have no problem choosing a loyal woman, and she does as said. And as the green cloak flutters in the wind, first there's no reaction, and then suddenly you see a group of 20 riders. No, sorry, 20. There are 6 riders and about 12 footmen running up from the abandoned miller's cottage. You have 6. You have 6 men with you, and you have the advantage of castle defences. But we'll jump from you to the other group. Over at St. David's Well, morning comes, and you hear the marshal sniffling a bit, and you've got, because of the cold and your vigil, you're actually just at the moment on 2 levels of exhaustion, but shortly with the rising sun and as you warm up, you'll lose the other one.
Right.
Is there anything you'd like to do at dawn?
Catch the trout.
So you're going into the at dawn, yes. Whilst you're still cold from the night's vigil, you're entering the
jacuzzi. Yeah.
You're entering the roaring waters. Okay. Roll a d6, please.
3.
3. Okay. As you are sort of wading out, you wade out into the white foaming water. The current is tearing at your, sort of pulling at your knees, and you stand on a very sort of smooth and slick bit of rock, and but the current suddenly drags at your legs and starts pulling you down. This is you remember that well, I don't know how much Benoit described his experience, but he felt a sort of mental thing, but this is actually physical. I'd like you to make a strength save, please.
God damn it. 8.
8. Okay. You lose. Too late. You sort of reach out with your hands, but you're dragged underwater. Did you keep your armor on, or did you take it off?
Oh God, no. I wouldn't.
You didn't
go with my armor. I wouldn't. I would take it off for sure.
Okay, so your armor is left beside the pool, and suddenly, Lord Marshal, you see Jan Peter disappear into foaming water, and he's gone.
Die.
Jan Peter! I'll call and cough and make my way over to try and find him.
Okay.
Circling around. I don't fancy going in there myself just yet.
So you're in the shallows, sort of looking for him, but not looking for a hand, looking for something like that.
You! I'll shout to the man. Get here! See if you can find him.
What do I do, sir? He's Welsh actually, so he's seen the guy fall in. He looks round for something to. Have any of you got spears, lances, anything like that?
Lances, probably. Yeah. Mounted knights, so I would imagine we would have taken our weapons with us.
Yep.
So yeah,
if you've got a lance, okay. He grabs the lance from the back of your warhorse and thrusts it into the water. There is the sinkhole has pulled you down. Mm-hmm. You've fallen down the sinkhole into a deep bit. You're just being sucked down into the deep bit. You take. Oh, just a second. Jan Peter, you take 3 points of bludgeoning damage as the water traps you, and you're being held underwater by the power of the water, as it's bashing you against rocks, and you're being dragged down. Make another strength save, please.
Oh, okay, this one's good. 21.
21. Okay. You find your hand closes round a rock underwater, and you start dragging yourself back out. But again, the current is battering you against the side of the rock. But before you come out, you take another 3 points of damage, and but the last moment as you're coming out, roll a d4 for me, please.
The trout? Is it gonna be the trout? 2.
2.
Okay.
Okay, your hand closes on something lodged in the rock, and as you're dragging yourself up, on one of the handholds there's something lodged in a crack, and it just closes in. Your hand closes in on it and just picks it up as you go, as you sort of drag your way, battered and bruised and breathless, out of the pool, and once you get your breath back, I'd like you to make a Constitution save, DC 18.
14, so...
Okay, you, with a full immersion in the cold stream, you've also caught a cold. So you're at disadvantage on saves. Well, not saves, on ability checks at the moment.
Mhm.
And in your hand, you find a silver ring with a Greek mask of the one face for tragedy, one face for comedy, the sort of happy and sad Greek masks emblazoned on it, which looks to have some value.
Awesome.
Yeah, Peter, I thought I'd lost you.
Well, this damn bath, my lord. I should. This damn trout. It's like it's haunting me in my dreams. It wants me dead.
I suggest that's your last bath for some time.
Indeed.
So, coughing and snivelling. Finally, the procession arrives, and then Gruffith comes forward, and he, in the full dignity of his office, he goes through the ceremony in this foreign language, in Latin most of the time. It's the you don't know. This isn't one of the routine services that you attend through the day. It's a rare Welsh one with some smattering of Welsh. You may speak Latin, but you don't understand much of what's going on here. And through it, he seems to be beseeching the saint, who, as you look up at the statue they've carried up here, his eyes gradually get more and more moist until he starts crying at the saint, and they all go, oh, and throw themselves down and start form a line and go up to kiss the feet of the saint. And this is and part of this, during part of this service, Gruffith turns to you and gives you the nod and starts going through the ceremony of the ceremony of baptism again. You're taking your baptism vows and going to be completely baptized. Can you make a performance roll, please, Lord Marshal?
Okay. And is this at disadvantage then?
Yes.
Because
Unless you want to use. Have you got any inspiration?
Don't have not got anything written down anywhere. I don't remember.
Okay. Just straight then. Yep, straight. Gruffith is trying to aid you, so you can have it he'll cancel out the disadvantage. It's just a straight roll,
Okay.
rather than at disadvantage.
Wow.
What the hell?
3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Can
you're
I aid
sniffling.
him in any way?
He's already been aided by Gruffith,
Yeah.
and he's failed here. All the words that were you suddenly find yourself stage struck with all the. You were fine in the sort of quiet of the chapel when there was just you and Gruffith, but with all these people looking on you, you sort of stumble over the first words, and from there's no going back, and you never manage to get anything, and you just feel the feeling of losing them and them turning against you. And then at the end of the ceremony, or as you're coming towards the end of the baptism, Gruffith sort of just he's shaking his head. He's just trying to get it over and done with as quickly as possible. He immerses you in the water, and there. Are you in armor or not?
No, I'm risking it without.
Okay. He immerses you in the water, and then and make a Constitution save, please, whilst you're thrown in the water.
Ah, 19.
19. Okay. Yeah, the cold water doesn't affect you badly, and because you've gone through, even though you did it so badly, the actual ceremony and everything has given you a point of inspiration. At the same time, an arrow comes flying through the air. And just narrowly misses you.
It's that Bowman! That bad Bowman!
It is.
Oh, let's fucking kill him. Please.
Yep. Okay. And there, yes, there in amongst the procession. Actually, you're not sure where he is, but Elizabeth and
Ellery.
Peter. You can make a Peter at disadvantage, Ellery straight. You can make an perception roll to see where it came from.
Have it
12.
17.
17. Okay. Yep. There's one of the on the back of one of the horses. Somebody was walking. Somebody was walking beside a horse, and he'd been using a staff, but now it's a bow. He's strung it whilst nobody was watching, and he's shot. He's shot at your lord, but the first arrow is missed. But he's pulling another arrow from his quiver, as Gruffith shouts out in anger that somebody's interrupting this holy ceremony with blood.
So, how far away am I from him?
You are 20 feet. Roll initiative, please. Everybody, in fact. I'll go from one group to the other.
Alright, well,
Guys, would I get advantage on this since this is sacred ground? Would this count?
7.
What does your it is sacred ground. Yes, you can.
Okay. I rolled exactly the same, but yeah, that's good.
Okay, and put your initiative rolls in the chat.
I'll just have to say mine because I'm on the phone.
Okay.
I rolled a 1. Technically, I rolled a 1 and I have a -1 in initiative.
Excellent.
So I'm not going till next.
This means you all. Yeah.
Definitely what you want in an ambush. Not to seize the initiative.
Actually, in the ambush, you have readied actions for your first round. You can tell me what your readied action is. Well, you'll have it. I'll describe what's happening, but Durwell's on 22. So.
It's that damn flux.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think my grandfather's telling me something.
Durwellson. Okay. Durwell and Benoit, I'll do you first. You see a group of approximately 20, just under 20 men rushing up to storm the castle. Included amongst them is Lord Dithmal, though he is on a horse near the rear, ushering on the foot soldiers. They are armed. They have typical Welshmen. They are barefooted. They have leather armor, shield, and a spear, and either an axe or a spear are their typical weapons. Lord Dithmal is better armed, of course, and the riders are also. They also have leather armor, gambesons, or one or two of them have half a chain shirt. You see them rushing up towards the keep. How many would you like to let in before you close the gates?
The cavalry are at the rear, you say? Does it look most likely that the infantry will come through the gates first?
The five riders will probably come first, but the sixth one, Lord Dithmal, is at the rear, sort of urging on the infantrymen. So the infantrymen are coming after the riders.
And our friends who left, our lord and whatnot, their retinue were mounted, yes? Like William Marshal and Jan Peter and the like.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we have cavalry, but just not here. So if we let the cavalry in first, then slam the doors shut and kill them, we gain 5 horses and 5 gambesons, chain shirts, blah, 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 blah. And the enemy, only the enemy lord can extricate himself from our returning cavalry. The rest we can harry and hunt down and yada, yada. So that's my answer, unless Chex has a better idea. Let in the cavalry first and shut them in. 5 against 6 is great odds for us, but if we let in a dozen infantry, we might get slaughtered ourselves.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That's the kind of thinking I was having, kind of
Cool.
thoughts I was having as well.
I might get one of our, if we have like soldiers or levy or anything like that, red shirts to help us. I get one of them up hiding on the walls, and with orders to, once the fighting commences, to throw missiles or shoot arrows, whatever they can, at Dithmal. I want to drive him off to cause panic and lack of leadership amongst his men.
Okay.
And I assume our men are set up kind of as a flank ambush.
Either side of the gate,
Yep.
so that once the horses are through, we can give the command, shut them in, and start the slaughter. I'm going to creep up on the walls, looking over the courtyard side of the gate, so that once the gate's shut, I can throw down rocks on these cavalrymen.
Okay. So you're
Or
up on
pots
the
of boiling oil.
battlements,
Or
up on the
feces,
walls.
whatever.
Pots of boiling feces.
Why not?
You've
Or
had
sand,
some
boiling
time
sand, actually, for the guys in chainmail.
Yeah. Well, you've had time to prepare. You could boil up some. You could boil up some water or something like that if you wanted.
I think like just heavy rocks would be the best thing. Like the gate's got to be 10 foot tall at least if it's going to let cavalry through it. So dropping a rock the size of your belly on someone from 10 feet, it's enough D6s to kill them, hopefully. So I'm just going to, like, rather than boiling sand or like gathering filth from the midden heap to boil up, I think rocks or just heavy stuff is easier, quicker. We only had 2 hours, I think you said. So
yeah, yes. So just
rocks and heavy stuff
you've taken
there.
the sort of and the sort of cutting block, the sort of the mounting block for the horses, the sort of
winter fire logs, all that kind of stuff that would be
heavy.
handy that I could conceivably stack up there within a 2 hour period.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So as I take it, as the readied action, it will take 2 people on each bar to close the gates. Basically, it'll take all 6 of them to really close the gate on the first round. So the 2 of you can attack, and they'll join as their readied action, and you can attack. Okay. So and you see Caradog has led them into the castle. Caradog the moustache.
Joyous. Christ is with us.
Make your attack rolls.
I'm going to drop the rock down on Caradog for sure. Okay. Now, will that be an athletics check to heft the rock off, or like what kind of check do you want me to make to attack him with it?
I'll say it's not even difficult. It's you've got it ready. A DC 5 athletics. What I'll say it's make an athletics of DC 5 and no,
I can't
DC
fail
0.
That, so
DC 0, and everything that you do in excess will be a difficulty on his dex save.
All right. So athletics check. Here we go, boys. And lady, it's going to be a 15.
15 is the difficulty of his dex save. He can save for half, and for damage, you're
7d12s. No, just kidding.
I'm just thinking. Roll a 2d4, and that'll be the number of d6 you roll.
Okay, 6.
So 6d6.
Okay.
I'm not sure he's going to survive this.
13 plus 6, so 19 bludgeoning damage.
19.
That'll get a bit of brains in the mustache. Now, shut it! I'll call in because I heave the granite rock off.
And before you've seen this guy, he Caradog can get mad with anger, and he doesn't feel pain when that happens. But he doesn't look to be sort of frothing at the mouth like he sometimes does, and you get him before he's able to work himself into his killing frenzy. And it may not be quite enough to kill him, but it might. He needs to make a. He makes his system shock, but you've destroyed his horse and seriously injured him. It was 19, wasn't it?
That's right.
Okay.
So that was my ready action, right?
Yes. And what's your ready action, Benoit?
Basically waiting off into the sides for the first person to come through. As soon as the shadow appears, I'd be swinging my sword with all its might. So I don't know who the first person through would be, but they'd be the one to get the flat of my blade.
Okay.
Not the flat of my blade, but the side of my blade.
The first one through is Caradog. I'll say the same moment that the rock is falling, you can hit at Caradog, but it would take you in the way of the falling rock. Are you going to change direction and go for somebody else, or are you going to go for Caradog himself?
No, I'll go for Caradog himself in the confusion of battle, we'll say.
Okay. Roll to hit.
To hit
at advantage.
At advantage, okay.
Because he's.
Oh, that's even better. That's a 24 to hit.
Okay, and tell me the damage.
Damage is. I get this character sheet. Damage is 10 points.
10. Okay. Yeah, your blow, and the rock, just he's disintegrated. Describe the kill.
The rock, as it bounces off his head, actually turns him and the horse slightly. It makes him lean just enough that as the blade comes around blindly, just to take him in the neck and decapitate him outright.
And the horse is also killed by the rock, and there's a chance that you might be hit by it. Make a dex save at advantage, please.
Dex save advantage is 12.
DC 15, but you'll only take half even if you fail.
Yeah, it's a fail.
It's a fail. Okay, you take 9 points of damage from the rock.
Ouch.
As the other 4 horsemen get trapped in the inner bailey as their leader dies, and you hear the koom koom of the gates shut. So basically, that's Benoit down in the bailey alone. No, the other 6 are by the gates, and they'll be ready to join you next round. Now, leaping to the Marshal. The Marshal, an arrow has come flying out at you. From the crowd, and you hear screams and panics. Make a perception roll to identify. You've been taken by surprise and pulled out of your reverie. Make a perception roll to spot the archer. Yes. Okay, yep. Though there are people running in all directions and he's sort of keeping low, you spot the man with a Gwentish longbow. You've seen these devastating these bows before.
the events of today, of this morning, of the whole week since we've been here, just come down on me, and I basically lose it. Get him! And I charge straight forward, snatching up my sword as I run past my pile of gear and charge after that man through the crowd, pushing people aside
Okay.
as we go.
It's difficult terrain moving through all these people. They're rushing around in panic and things. But what do you grab? What weapon do you grab?
It would be my sword.
Okay, yeah, you grab your sword, but apart from that, you're basically in a undershirt. You've got no armor. You're in the middle of a baptism ceremony.
I've just gone, just gone mad.
Okay. After that, it's the archer himself. He tries to loose one more arrow at you, +1. He curses as somebody knocks his elbow. You think he's got you in his sights, but somebody knocks his elbow as there's people rushing past, and he curses as the arrow flies wild and kills a peasant next to you, and he curses, flits onto the back of the horse and digs his heel into the horse and starts tearing away. But because of all the thick crowds, he can only move 30 feet through this crowd. Jan Peter.
How far is he?
Elizabeth, I haven't got your initiative in the order. What's your initiative?
It was 7.
7. Okay.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah.
How far is he from me?
He was 20 feet.
Like, am I?
Oh no, he's 50 feet. He's 60 feet away from you now. You were by the pool.
Well, I would take my crossbow and shoot at him. Since I don't think I have a chance of like getting to him, so I'll take my chances and shoot at him.
Okay. There are so many people around. There are so many people sort of between you and him dashing around that any miss will hit a civilian.
Let's do it. It's just Welsh people, so.
Okay, yes, that's your attitude. It won't hit the Marshal.
Yeah, I mean, in any case, I kill a Welshman, so it's like a win-win, basically.
If you roll a 1, you'll hit the Marshal or Elizabeth.
Oh, goddamn! You know, it's just a miss.
Okay, so yeah, there's a scream as a Welshman goes down.
Can I take an action search and use my action to dash and try to get as close to him as possible? Then, since I'm as bad of an archer as he is.
Yes, you can. But again, it's difficult terrain because of all the crowd sort of rushing past you. So it would be reduced to 30. You've only got 30 feet closer to him. So you're 30 feet from him.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And the next to react is Elizabeth herself.
Yes. So I'm still 20 feet away from him.
Yep.
And I probably couldn't get there. It's difficult terrain still, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So I would need to use.
Do you have an action surge?
Yeah,
I do have an action surge.
You could dash and then.
Yeah, I was thinking I could dash and then attack him with my longsword. Mm-hmm. All right with me. Okay, that's a total of 17.
Okay. Yes, you. Are you yes? Are you attacking him or the horse?
Oh boy! I'm going to attack him.
Okay.
That would be 5 points of damage.
Okay. Yep. You open up a wound on him. What armor class did you hit? Sorry.
Wait. Oh, what was my to hit roll?
Yep.
I don't. I don't know. I've moved my dice.
Wasn't it 17, did you say?
17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
not
No.
fair.
Yeah. No problem. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. You catch up with him. You weave through the. You find a bit where the crowd is a bit thinner, and manage to intercept his horse and land a blow as he starts picking up speed.
There's one thing that wasn't clear. Was I mounted or not mounted? I believe we were probably on foot, weren't we? Or was Ellery mounted? Because I would have been mounted if she was, or on foot if she was.
She was walking with the.
Okay.
She was walking with the townspeople, but you can have brought your horse if you like.
Okay. So I could mount now, or?
Yep.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. So now the riders. The riders who are in the inner bailey. There are 4 riders. They see them. Let's see. And there are 6 opponents. The 2 riders. 2 riders try to ride down and kill Benoit. One tries to. No, two go back. They go back and start hacking at the people who've closed the gates because they're determined to try and open the gates again. They realize they're in a death trap. So they attack the gate guards. Sorry, Durwell, I didn't give you another attack. I've missed you at the beginning of this.
Yeah, I just had my ready action.
Yeah, that was your ready action. So sorry, back to I'll go back
That's
to
all right.
Durwell. What's your next
What weapon did Caradoc bear?
action? Caradoc was one of the few with a sword. The only one with, except for Lord Dithmal, he had a sword.
Am I able with 30 foot of movement to get down to Benoit next to him?
Yep.
Okay, I'll rush down the stairs to do that after like heaving off the rock at Caradog. I'm going to rush down next to Durwell. I'm going to use my action to take the dodge action. And the first attack that's leveled at Benoit, I'm going to use my reaction to interpose my shield and give them disadvantage on the attack.
Okay. Nice.
And by next to him, my second priority is to be like an obstacle to the gate. So next to Benoit first, and if it can be obscure the gate as well, then that too. But if not, fine. Benoit is the best hope because he's the best warrior we've got. So keep him alive is my strategy now.
Yep. Two riders come down on Benoit. One on you, one on Benoit. So both are at disadvantage.
Yep.
And I don't
I'll
have any
thrust my shield
sophisticated
out
way
over
of
the
doing
top of
disadvantage.
Benoit's head, and I'll drive my spear up at the mouth of the horse to flavor how I'm trying to not be hit.
So a 13 on you, Benoit. That will be a miss, will it?
That's a miss. 16's a magic number.
Takes. Yeah. So young Durwell gets his shield in the way, and against Durwell, 16.
Nope. Just
Nope.
17 is my AC with the shield. So the first one clatters off my shield, and the second strike parries from my spear.
Yes, just going past your face, it misses, and the other 2 go and attack the people on the gate. But they look like they're panicking in this, and are attacking clumsily. And the 6 on the gate fight back, draw their axes and draw their spears and axes and fight back. Yeah, and they seem to be making short work of the 2 there. So moving back to so the last to react is Benoit. There are 2 riders above you.
Yeah, so this time instead of overhand swing, he's going to thrust his sword up, hopefully into the belly of one of these riders. Bonus action first of all to give myself some hit points back though. There was 6 hit points on that for the second wind. And it's a horrible 11 to hit.
11. Yeah, your thrust is parried and caught on the edge of his blade, and he just brings it up with a shing, just sweeping it out of the way. Now it's Benoit again. Sorry, not Benoit. Durwell again.
Okay. I'm going to... I wonder if that same strategy is probably the best way to go. No, I'm going to interaction, or I'm going to drop my spear and pick up Caradog's sword. And I'll stay next to Benoit, and I'll cut into the closest wounded person to me. Sorry, enemy, I should say, not person, because that might be Benoit. And it's going to be 15 on the die, so yeah, 19 all up to hit.
Okay, yep. There are 2 riders on you, and neither of them are injured at the moment.
Okay. Then I'll take the one that's on Benoit, as opposed to the one that's on me.
Okay.
So that will be D8. 10 slashing damage.
Ooh. He falls from his horse with a white face. Describe your kill.
I thrust out, and it like skims off the leather of the saddle and drives up into his groin, which earns like a piggish squeal and a hot spray of blood down my hand. And like the man drops his weapon to clutch at his groin, which sends him like overbalancing off the horse. I'm going to use half my movement to mount up on that horse, and the other half of my movement, which now becomes the horse's movement, to stand in front of the gate, adding an extra obstacle. And that's it for me.
Okay.
It means I can't protect Benoit now too, though, by proxy. Yep. But I figure keeping them in is just as important, right?
Yep. Marshal.
Okay, so Marshal's, he's still got his furious temper, something that he hasn't thus far revealed to many people. But yeah, he's just about had enough today. Things haven't gone his way, and he's running across the grass and the rocky grass, pain in the soles of his feet. His hair's all matted across his face, and his eyes are wild, and he's charging after this man on the horse. Whether he'll reach him or not remains to be seen. But logical thoughts are no longer with him.
Okay, you're sort of pushing through the crowds, but the crowds are getting in your way, and you don't think you'll catch up with the bowman. But make an insight roll. No, make a perception roll, please. Wisdom check, and add your proficiency if you've got perception.
Yeah.
Okay, as you're pushing your way through the crowds, you see somebody has grabbed Ellery. A Welshman has grabbed Ellery, and he seems to be dragging her towards a horse against her will.
Right, he's a better target then. So Leave my bride! I shall scream virtually and charge after him.
Okay. You're able to get up to him, actually. So, how would you like to deal with him? He's got Ellery in his hands.
Yeah, I'm not going to use the sword, so I'll just have to wrestle with him.
Okay, are you
in the
dropping
face.
your sword and attacking?
Yeah, stick it
Okay.
blade into the ground.
Make an athletics roll, but you can have advantage because Ellery's helping you. She's wanting to be free, and she's wanting to sort of trip, and so roll athletics at advantage.
So, well, the first one was 22.
Okay, so, and I'll just roll his. He's a big balding Welshman with sort of a plaited beard, and he but you break his hold on. He's strong. He's got big arms. But you break his hold and grab him.
Yeah, expected to be faster than him, so I'll just be grabbing him and basically ground and pound this guy as soon as I get the opportunity.
Okay. At the moment, you just grabbed him.
Yeah.
Then the bowman kicks his heels in and kicks his heels in and tries to get away. But Elizabeth, you can make an attack of opportunity.
All right. Now I'm believing that a 7 will miss him.
Yep, the 7.
Too quick for me right now.
Yep, and he starts spurring away across the rocks, but they're fairly slippery. So let me just check on his horsemanship. Oh, but actually, sort of as he starts galloping, his horse's hooves misstep, and he falls on the rock, and is brought crashing down to the floor. So he's got 30 feet away, but now he's dismounted, and the horse he looks slightly winded. Jan Peter.
So I don't assume I can get to him this turn. So probably not. Right?
Probably not. No.
Well then, I'm gonna shoot another arrow at him.
Okay. Yep. You can push yourself to the edge of the crowd and then take a free shot.
Okay. No, never mind. No.
What did you roll?
I rolled a 7, so it's like an 8 or something.
Okay. Yeah. You don't hit Elizabeth. Okay. Moving on. After Jan Peter, it is Elizabeth.
All right. So she can grab her horse and jump on and basically go over there. I mean, she could probably just run over there anyway, but
you can run out. You can run over there because he's on his. He's prone. You could get up to him and attack him with the advantage of.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna run over there and attack him.
Okay.
What if she were to grapple him?
He doesn't look as strong as a bear.
That's what I was just thinking. I think she's gonna try to grapple him. She still has advantage, right?
Yep.
All right. What would I add? Strength to my grapple roll?
Strength. Yeah, athletics is a strength. You need to roll athletics basically, not an attack roll, but an athletics roll.
Yeah. All right. Well, so basically, then we're looking at a total of 22.
Okay. He's quite dexterous, and he tries to wriggle out of that. but no, you grab one of his arms, roll round, get him in a half Nelson where he's pinned against the floor. He's prone and he can't move anywhere.
Awesome.
He could try and stab at you or something, but he'd be at disadvantage in his position.
I've probably used
He
up
can't
everything
move.
I can do this turn then, huh?
Have you got a bonus action?
I don't think I have anything I can do as a bonus action. Not that I know of. No.
Okay. There's the rider on Benoit was down, so there's just but he's moved over to the gate where there are 2 riders left. One of them's injured. The 2 riders, sorry, Durwell has moved over to them. So the 2 riders, seeing you and your chain are more dangerous than the others. The riders actually, as you approach, they veer off and try and ride up the steps out of the bailey onto the battlements. You can have an attack of opportunity on them as they wheel away and try and escape.
I'll take one for sure. 18
On the injured one or the?
On the injured one, no. For sure.
Yep. Okay. So,
like, if it looks like they're all going to flee and the injured one's not the first, I'll withhold my attack of opportunity until it's the one that one that's injured.
Yep. You let one past, and he gallops up to the bottom of the steps, jumps off of the back of his horse, and runs up the steps onto the battlements. Then you can.
Oh yeah, so 18 on the die test. So I'm assuming that hits, considering plate mail's not invented yet. So. 5, so we can't have an AC higher than that. So 5 plus 3 is going to be 8 slashing damage to the back of this guy.
Yep, that's enough. Tell me. He's brought down, gurgling blood as your sword passes through him.
Nice.
And but the other one's got to the top of the stairs, and he runs along the top of the battlements. No, he raises his shield and takes a position at the top of the stairs. Meanwhile, the one on Benoit rolls, attacks with his axe clumsily, and you're easily able to avoid it. Benoit.
Yeah, with the ringing metal as I parry the axe swing, coming back under to kind of basically slide and slice as I move around them for an 18. And that'll be 12.
A glazed look comes into his eyes. You can describe the rest.
Yeah, it's just the perfect up and under the gamison and just riding along as he comes into it with his axe thrust, doing most of the momentum and helping spill his guts. Is there anyone else nearby? Because the great weapon fighter, I believe it is, gets a bonus.
Not within range. There's just the one guy at the top of the stairs at the moment.
Okay, just in case.
Okay. Then after you, it's Benoit. There's only one guy left in the keep, standing at the top of the stairs. Not Benoit. Durwell this time. See if I can remember the names.
I'm going to rush towards this man and hack down at here. Like, I assume he's got his shield up in his left hand covering his midsection. So I'm going to strike for the outside of his left ankle as hard as I can with his dead master's sword.
Okay. Before you get to him, he stabs at you. He swings his axe at you because he had a readied action.
Mhm.
And because he's above you on the steps, he has an advantage cutting down.
Yep.
Oh, 14 isn't enough. So
No, I'm on level 1, so I just breathed a really heavy sigh of relief. Then would have been my end. So he like swipes down at me. Maybe it's because I'm like too tall for my muscles,
he laughs
too
as you come up
uncoordinated. Yeah,
he laughs as you come up the stairs. Do well. This will taste good. But then he misses you.
yeah, because I'm like gangly and like jaunting around and unexpectedly move uncoordinatedly to the side, and there's a spark as his axe hits the stone, and then I'll try and stab into him for a 15 on the die, so 18 all up to hit. It's going to be only 4 slashing damage to the ankles. He's smart. He's shoved like a long piece of hardwood down inside his hose to like stave off just such types of attacks. And although I chip it and like stab into his leg, it doesn't cut off his foot.
Ah, you're gonna regret that, boy. Marshal, you're locked in combat with
Yes.
with a bearded strong man, whiskered strong man.
Yeah. Try and throw him. And smash his
Okay.
face open with some nearby rocks.
So you've got him. You're holding him. What?
Yeah. Sweep his legs out and just fall on him as he falls.
Okay. Make an athletics roll again. As he tries and. But I'll give him disadvantage because you've already got him in a grip. Oh, no, I'll give him a straight roll.
That's a 19.
We'll see. Oh, he stumbles. You both stumble along together for quite a few steps before finally your force is able to overwhelm him and push him to the ground, and you land on him heavily, knocking the wind out of him. He's pinned. He's now pinned on the ground. You have him. You have him prone and pinned. So you've definitely got the advantage on any other grapple rolls.
Okay.
And
well, it's my intention to use a rock and just go savage on him.
Okay.
Yeah. Kill him. Yeah. Bad enough pussyfooting about now.
And finally, after the Marshal, it's the bowman who's also pinned. All he can do is try and throw you off, but he's got a disadvantage. So he's got no move and he's prone, and prone gives him disadvantage. He let me just roll on the fumble charts. See, can you roll a d20, please, Elizabeth? See what he does to himself.
8.
8. Okay, he injures himself, and he says, "I yield, I yield." Actually, no, he shouts something in Welsh, but you don't know what he's saying. On to, and after that, it's Jan Peter. You can see Elizabeth has one, Elizabeth the bear wrestler has one, and the Marshal has another.
Okay. Where is Ellery right now?
Ellery is standing next to the Marshal, kicking the guy who grabbed her.
I don't know who to help here. Like which of the two looks like they have a bigger problem with their opponent. They're like, well, I don't know.
Both look
Wait,
to be
actually,
both look to be
I
pretty
hate
much
the
in
fucking
control.
Roman. Oh, he's under control. But I hate him with my whole heart. But
And he looks very Welsh.
he looks very. Let's. Oh, you know what? I'll assist Lord Marshal.
You'll assist Lord Marshal. Okay. What would you like to do?
Can I?
The guy's prone before you. You could
Like
quickly.
tackle him and hold him down or something. Knock him out. I don't know.
Improvise weapon. Make an attack roll at advantage. Strength roll.
Attack or strength?
Well, strength-based attack.
Yeah. So do I add a proficiency or not?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you'll hit. So
18. Yeah, 18.
roll a d4 and add your strength.
4.
Okay. 4 total. Okay. You basically. I'm not going to roll through the rest of this. You at the well. There's panic and screams running out, but you've overpowered the two people, and you can do with them what you will. Meanwhile, at the top of the battlements, the guy rushes forward to try and push Durwell off. Make a opposed athletics roll. He gets a
Okay.
19.
Oh, 17.
Okay, you've with a he says, "You shouldn't have messed with me, boy." As you go flying into open air and flying off the top of the battlements. And can you roll 2d6 for your damage as you fall?
Oh, this could kill me. Nearly. Not nearly. I'm bloodied though.
Can you? That's more than half your total hit points.
Yep, 7 of 13. System
can you-
shock.
Yes,
Is it
please.
D10? Okay.
Well, roll your d15. Roll your. There's a Constitution save that I think you normally miss, but
Oh, okay.
just-
my con save is 15. And
okay,
my
that's
D10
enough.
is a
You
9.
avoid the system shock with a con save of 15.
Okay. So he wins me and sends me sprawling over the wall, and I smack down into the courtyard floor beneath him, or diagonally.
He looks round.
Like that wet, winded noise.
He looks around at the others. There are too many people coming for him, and he just goes to the battlements and flips over and jumps down. Oof, lands heavily, but ooh. Okay, lands heavily, but and starts retreating with the others. You see the infantrymen and Lord Dithmal retreating back towards the forests. No, actually, they approach. They come back with a heavy log and a battering ram. Some minutes later, about 10 minutes later, you see them approaching again. But
have we dealt with all the horsemen inside the courtyard?
Yes. The horsemen inside are dealt with, but actually they'll just. I need to go actually, so we'll end it there. What's your? Ellery thanks you, turns to you and says, "My father is a devious fox, and He will oppose you for as long as he can. But he she turns to you. What would you do with me? I have no wish to be his pawn.
You are not your father. You seem honourable. If you still have me, I will still have you. I'll just look down at myself, and as I am.
She looks you up and down. Make a persuasion roll.
Yeah. 23.
23. Okay. Yep. She says, I would rather have you than some aging toothless lord that he'll hitch me up with. And I believe, but I ask one thing. I have known these people for some time. No, you choose what you do with them. And as she says that, and you and the sort of baptism ceremony comes to an end, as you with the casualties and the prisoners, you start making your way back towards the valley at Cantrev Bichan. You see pillars of smoke coming up from the Cantrev, and there's signs that you see pillars of smoke coming up. Back in Llandofri, the infantrymen give up their attack on the castle and they pull back, but they start lighting fires out in the wheat fields just before harvest time. But that's where we'll have to leave it.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Pity.
Okay.
He's
Cheers
the
for playing.
dragon that we'll be hunting.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah, my plan, by the way, with the archer was to knock him on the head and tie him up.
Yeah. Each of you, describe. We'll go through. Benoit, what's your final? How do you react to the Welshman retreating from the gate?
At first, with some joy, having obviously taken some injury myself, and then seeing Dermot on the ground, and the fact that it was his plan that came to fruition, and going over and helping him to his feet and checking he's okay, and then hearing the shouts of "they're coming back."
You run up to the battlements, and they've got a battering ram, but they. Well, I don't have time to sort of go through that, but their morale is deeply affected by the loss of the riders, their leaders, except for Lord Dithmal. And after they take a few more casualties from bows and the weapons you have up in there, they retreat back in confusion. And as a last vengeance, they light the cornfields. Durwell, how do you react?
Command the gates to be opened up and call for the men to mount. Whoever can mount will harry these cornfield burners till dark.
Okay.
Because his blood is hot and he's young and stupid. And looks ripe to undo all of his good work with this foolish charge, but such is the ways of young men, and so that's what he'll do. Unless Benoit like holds him down, like, no, it's not worth it, lad, that kind of thing. Otherwise, he'll be like, we must chase them down. We cannot let them burn the winter stores. And it's kind of like he doesn't realize that he's crying and like gritting his teeth and sounding like a maniac because of the trauma.
So Marshal, Benoit, how are you reacting? Are you going with him, or are you?
Come on, mate.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I would cancel against any swift retribution.
Rightio. He is my senior and a knight, so I'd do as he'd sell after, like, do what he tells me after the second yell. I get a bit of clarity and realize that I've forgotten myself.
Marshal, Jan Peter, and Elizabeth, you have Ellery and the rest of the villages, and as you see the smoke rising from the direction of Country of Bichen, what are your final thoughts? How does first of all, Elizabeth, how does she react?
Well, she had, like I said, she'd crack the guy on his head and tied him up, I guess. So the archer is but then seeing the smoke or smelling the smoke and hearing the shouts, she goes and leaps on her horse and basically just heads over, because she's not too thoughtful.
Okay.
Maybe she looks for a second to see who's coming with her.
It will be a ride of 6 hours.
Oh, I don't think it took us 6 hours to walk there. Maybe it did. Or them.
No, it won't have taken you 6 hours to walk there. It will have taken you most of the day, actually, thinking about it. Or it will have taken. It took hours. It's a long distance from Llandofri.
Okay. Well, in that case,
So,
she'll stay and escort everybody home to protect the people she's with. For some reason, I was thinking of it as being closer.
And Jan Peter.
What did happen to the archer again? Like, is he dead or is he?
No, he's
unconscious on the.
Yeah. Well, just let me at him, boss. But no, but when Jan Peter would see the fires, or like the smoke rising, I think he would kind of maybe freeze for a few seconds in terror, like knowing what's actually burning, probably.
And finally, Marshal, your goodwill and your trust in Lord Dithmal has been betrayed.
Yes, well, thoughts inside are that one of these two prisoners will die when we get back. And I shall call out, pick up the pace! And spur my horse on.
Okay. And how you'll arrive back too late. The villagers will organize as best they can the putting out of the fires, but you'll arrive too late to influence that. But Benoit and Durwell, you can join the villagers in putting out the fires and things, but you lose a lot of the crop before you get back. And how you survive, how you react to that, and how you survive over the winter, or how you secure food for the winter and to survive until next year's harvest, will have to be decided next time. Thanks for playing.
Thank you.